Hello everyone, this is Anish Verma and you're listening to the Empower Your Mind for Success podcast, a podcast for anyone who wants to build an entrepreneurial mindset. So I was researching some books today on Amazon and especially around quantum physics and epigenetics and neuroplasticity, basically fairly new streams of science that are focusing on the gene theory, especially the epigenetics subject, which is highlighting it's highlighting that your genes are more impacted by the environment than by the influence of the genes from your parents. And then quantum physics is implying of how the atoms and molecules work, and that kind of impacts how biology works. And neuroplasticity, as you guys may know, is the science of how now the brain works and how the brain forms new neural pathways based on the information that is fed to the brain repeatedly. And these are more evidence, biological evidence, or something that can be tested in a lab with humans and their brains to prove some of the things that a lot of people have written about: the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, in the early 1930s, and even way before that, in early 1900s. In the book, very two popular books from those times were "As the Man Thinketh" by James Allen, 1904, I believe, and then "The Science of Getting Rich" by Wallace Wattles, 1911. And both these books, talk about, how they are learning some of these things from the ancient texts, whether the texts are coming from, the Indic region, from India, or they are coming from the Bible, or, from the Jews, from the Hebrews, right? There's a lot of documentation and textual evidence of how our ancient texts talk about some of these things that are now being scientifically proven. Which makes me wonder, if there were answers already in these ancient texts, if our ancestors followed these ancient texts to live their daily lives, to achieve, to have a very prosperous life, and be very rich in financially, economically in those days, for those times. Then what happened? What transpired between then and now? Of course, a lot of natural elements, wars, warfares, politics, religion-based, or geography-based. Either way, a lot of things transpired. Of course, a lot of texts were lost. A lot of religious establishments were burned down by both parties. Or whoever fighting in the war, and I think some of that is still going on right now. But I wonder, and I have a lot of questions in my mind. I was doing some research. I was also reading the Upanishads, which are one of the most ancient texts in Hinduism. So before I get into my questions, let me give you some context around Hinduism, or the Upanishads, right? So the four most ancient texts in Hinduism are the Vedas. There are four different types of Vedas: Rig Veda, and there are three more. And these Vedas have been around for since the beginning of times, which were originally, taught by the teacher to the student orally, verbally, and then eventually they were captured on parchment and paper and other sources as well, right? So these were the Vedas. They were big ancient texts, and they basically were compartmentalized into two major sections, right? One was the karma section, which is basically about actions and rituals, and how to perform prayers, how to live your life, how to go about your day-to-day tasks. And the second section was the Jnana section, which is the knowledge section, which spoke a lot about achieving a spiritual goal, or becoming one with God, and why we are born, why do we live these lives, what is misery, what is happiness, what is conscious mind, what is subconsciousness, what is unconsciousness, what is dreamless state. All these things are very, very well described in this knowledge section of the Vedas. And these are ancient texts. I mean, I'm talking about, when the humankind existed as we know, the modern humankind existed. When the Indo-Aryans came to India from Europe, the Indo-Europeans, I should say, who called themselves Aryans, the noble ones, who came into India around 6000 BC. They have documented that they found a civilization that was already 1000 years old. The natives in India, and then what Indo-Europeans and the Indians together became the Indians in India, have been practicing these rituals, these Upanishads for a very, very long time. And lot of things in the Upanishads, which is basically around the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, achieving spirituality, a lot of things around that, which is not religion based at all, by the way. Anybody can follow these instructions and achieve their end goals. If they were written so many years and centuries ago, and which are now getting proved by science, then what are we missing as humankind? I mean, why do we struggle so much with depression, with stress, with anxiety? What have we caused in the world with all the technologies and the environment that we live in? All the modernization, has that led to more worries and stress and depression, which our ancestors didn't have? They went and studied in forests. There were universities around those times as well, or schools, but most of the knowledge was sought in forests without distractions. Now we go to universities to seek that similar knowledge, but again, we are taught more around science and not around spirituality in schools and colleges, right? So I had a lot of questions in my mind today, and I don't know all the answers, but it makes me wonder, why do we suffer when we know the answers to what we are seeking? Whether it is at a spiritual level, whether it is at an intellectual level, or at a physical level, if all the answers are already documented in these texts, and I'm not talking only about the Vedas and the Upanishads, I'm talking about all the texts, the biblical texts, of all religions, from the ancient times, have captured in one way, shape, form or the other about the answers, and all these answers can be found. Then why do we struggle as mankind, right? Why don't we go back to these ancient texts to find the answers? A lot of new books are being written, about especially around yoga, around the mind, the mindset, the science of mindset. I mean, there are so many books on Amazon, right? People before prophets, how to live a life of purpose, how to find your purpose, and all these things are written way back in these ancient texts as well. And some of these authors discover this through their own learnings and misery, but also they go back and refer to some of these biblical texts and the ancient texts and find the answers, right? And I wonder, when all these things already exist, what's going on with us, right? So the more I read, the more I find that the more I go back in time, and if I can find the English translations of these books, then I can learn certain things quickly from the original source, as opposed to all the interpretations that have happened along the way from the other authors, right? Why wouldn't I go directly to the source to seek that knowledge? And apply that and share that with my listeners and everybody else, who wants to achieve something more in their lives than they have been able to achieve so far, right? We are all trying to seek something more. We are all trying to have a positive impact in the world. We are all trying to add value and help our communities. with whatever the message that you have in your mind that you want to share, which has to be all towards, evolution and progress, at all the three planes, intellectual, physical, and spiritual. And we all want to make money, because making money is one of the most important things as humans we need to aspire for. That is how we can help others as well, and help the people who need it, right? So that is why we are all trying to search for the answer, and we are all trying to search for the specific answer for ourselves, right? But all these answers are in the ancient texts, and if we can follow them, we can understand them and apply them, I think we will find the answers. Again, today, dear listeners, I have more questions than answers today, and I hope these questions help you step back and think, and encourage you, and these questions encourage you to yourself find your ancient texts that you would want to leverage, if you can find them, to get some of these answers. Remember, you have unlimited potential. Own it. Thank you for listening. Until next time, take care.